Hi, everybody, and welcome to Read Spider-Man Crawl Space Edition. Check us out, SpidermanCrawlspace.com. Well, everybody, here it begins. That's right, the 9-part crossover of Amazing Spider-Man and Venom, and we're kicking it all off with Death Spiral #1 by Joe Kelly, Al Ewing, and Charles Soule, with art by Jesus Saiz. So we're going to go ahead and get into the whole little part here of what are the pros and cons as we go to this huge crossover that'll be, of course, dominating the fields for the next couple of months. So let's get into the pros. So first of all, there is a nice little thread. I do like the various little things that are done by the writers. They have the various characters dying that we don't know who have similar last name to characters dying. We actually do feel a little bit of the threat going on of these people are dying by some of the area. It definitely leaves a very dark murder mystery, which I know Charles Soule has worked a lot about into that. And I have to say, it does really good. I do like the little mystery that was going on that we found out that Carnage, this Carnage symbiote, really, because if you've been reading the current series here, you know Eddie Brock is currently Carnage, with kind of like a dark piece that Charles Soule's been doing in the main books. I've been following Carnage for the last couple of years, so I know how this is. But it's very creepy and dark because as Brock fell asleep and how he's been doing this little chat with it and giving all the different names is really good thing. I'll have to say this about Charles Soule because I know he did this part of the writing. He really knows who Carnage is and how dark it is. There's also part in because we really do feel bad for Eddie Brock. He's been really going through some pieces here about containing the Carnage symbiote and him giving up the Venom symbiote, which of course was with Mary Jane, which we know has to deal with her Omnitrix, as well as why it was separated from, of course, his son Dylan Brock during Venom War last year. But it's really interesting. I really do love the dialogue. I've really enjoyed this about the Carnage series, is how much Charles Soules really gets the little talk about the Carnage symbiote, how it's been divided and everything, and then how it works with Eddie Brock. It's very dark. And I also do kind of like the pieces here. I do like the fact that Flash and Mary Jane, though it was hinted at, they're really just friends and they've just been dealing with it, him as anti-Venom and of course everything with Mary Jane with the symbiote bonding. This is actually something Al Ewing has done, did actually do very well with this. So we thought it was going to be coming out as a dark kind of thing of them getting a relationship, and luckily, no, they're good with friends as well as dealing with the aftermath of what was Ben Reilly. I don't like the fact, and I'll get into the cons a little bit more, of just how much almost everybody knew what Ben Reilly was. Ben Reilly was in front of Peter while he was off in space, and how that messed everything up. That's really go into it. Ben Reilly really did ruin Peter's job. He also ruined a lot of the relationships, as we know, between that. The fact that Mary Jane didn't know, Flash didn't know, but the Black Cat, the Avengers knew Ben Reilly had taken over Peter's life, and how it's caused all the destruction from Brian's accident. We also find out Peter's on academic leave because, of course, of safety protocols that got messed up, which seems like Ben Reilly just kind of skipped all that and did it, which really didn't do really thing. And of course, we've seen the supervillain origin. Also, same thing is enough with Simbi. He doesn't do anything. What is the point of this character? I know this is a little thing, and Joe Kelly's been trying to do it here. It's just like another thing is, I get with the mustache with Johnny Storm. And that's one thing that's been going on with, that Ryan North over in the main Fantastic Four here. But I think it's time Johnny got a shave. I'm sorry, it just does look good. He's got the Ryan Store cowboy look kind of going. And even though there's some great work here, because Jesus says his artwork is fantastic. He makes the dark parts work good. He does fun with the lighting. He does a little bit of the action scenes, and I really like that. But Simbi has no point, as well as we still have the Guardians of Light. We finally get his, everything else. But the biggest thing is, of course, is we still have Paul. They've been trying to do the pieces of them, and they try to do the fact that Paul somehow, no matter what, in Mary Jane and him are broken up, and as she's basically throw him out, he's still stuck there. He's still helping Dylan Brock. He still gets thrown back with Mary Jane. It's like every time we try to get rid of them, they tell Al Ewing or the other writers, no, you can't get rid of Paul. And we just don't have a point of it. There's some nice dialogue between Dylan and Eddie because of father son, but Paul is just basically, and it's really something off here, but Eddie says himself, hey, Paul, you're absolutely useless. I don't know why you're still in this book. Same thing with the Guardians. I'm so happy they finally got the ice cream. I'm so happy Glitch and that are going over here, and they got that all set up for the Hellgate storyline when it happens in this summer. Great. Wonderful. We didn't really care about the storyline. We did more here. The setup for Torment works very well. We get the way where the characters all are, who they are, how Venom is with Mary Jane, what is Flash Thompson right now, and of course the Carnage symbiote has been working with Torment to make this little thing about killing off people that are associated either by name or association with the Parkers, the Brocks, as well as the Rileys and a few other things. So it's a very interesting murder mystery, but when it's all said and done, there's not a lot to this issue. I'm going to give it a C plus. They're trying to bring all these storylines to show that, Torment was created, whatever this spiral is. We don't know who Torment is, even though there's a couple clues about it, everything, but we really don't know. It is a really cool setup that the Carnage symbiote and Torment have been talking, and we're getting all this set up for the first issue here in a couple weeks. But there's really not much to this book. It's got some fantastic, great artwork. I think Charles Soule's writing is the strongest, as well as the characterization between Eddie Brock, as well as the various characters, the murder victims. But really, there's not much here, and we basically get all the other setups, including the fact that Peter, his job's just got to go wrong. His life has just got to wrong. He went to outer space. Ben Reilly screwed up everything. Black Cat, Norman Osborn, the Avengers knew Ben Reilly took over. But, tell Mary Jane, Flash Thompson, nah, why do that? Drama, everybody. Drama. That's it. I'm going to be going through the wonderful next 8 parts of this series. So I'm kind of going to leave it at that. And if you want to know more, please check us out over at the Spider-Man Crawl Space. Check us out on our Discord, our website, our YouTube channel, as well as the podcast, as well as our social media. And for more information, everybody, of course, go to the SpidermanCrawlspace.com for all your latest reviews, news, and Spider-Man related fun. And on that note, everybody, I'll see everybody in a week for the next issue of Death Spiral. Bye.